What's up, everybody? Welcome to the StormCast, the world's best podcast. We're live on YouTube and Twitter, bringing you the latest and the greatest news, stories, and updates going on around the world. I hope everyone is having a good week so far on this beautiful Wednesday. Before we get into today's Stormcast episode, I want to give a quick sound check and make sure.
What's up, everybody?
We sound good. We sound good. Alrighty, let's jump right into it, everybody. If you haven't checked out the latest episode 51 of the Stormcast, we talked all about World War III and everything going on currently with World War III and the war that we're facing right now. We talked about the ex-mayor's scandal, the teacher-student affairs that have been going crazy recently. A lot of teachers and students, um, you know, having relationships these days, it seems like. And we talked about the most powerful militaries. So backpacking off of that episode, we're going to get right into the news, and then we're going to jump into our main topics for today's episode. Shout out to everybody tuning into today's episode. For our first piece of news for today, we've got something that, is kind of crazy to hear about because a lot of people think, marijuana is, becoming more and more legal these days. It would seem like, a lot more dispensaries being open, a lot more vape shops and, vape shops that carry, it seems like every vape shop carries, basically THC or products that simulated or edibles or something of that sort, But marijuana still seems to be an issue in society. And we know that because Texas apparently is going to be banning THC here soon. If you didn't know, now you do. Let's jump right into it. I feel like most people have either tried weed, right? Or, okay, so this isn't what I wanted to open. Or, have have experimented with marijuana in some way or in some fashion, in some way or another. But, it's still technically illegal, although it doesn't seem like it. It still is, and people are still, getting convicted of crimes. I understand if it's like trafficking and you're bringing like huge quantities, or you're selling to like underage. It does draw a line. You need to draw a line somewhere when it comes to marijuana, right? Because obviously, a lot of people report and know about the health benefits, but there are side effects as well. You can get addicted to it, contrary to popular belief, I believe. Stay with me, folks. I'm trying to open the first news piece here. Right as I find it, I'll open it up. But yeah, let me know, chat. Do you or have you experienced benefits or side effects from smoking marijuana, or has all your okay, here we are. So Is it sharing? There it is. We'll open it like this. So, all right, we're on Instagram here, World Star. I don't know how credible, you know, this is, but we'll read on it. So Texas smokable THC ban takes effect March 31st. According to reports, new rules from the Texas Department of State Health Services now ban stores from selling any smokable form of THC, including hemp-derived products. Okay. And, southern states, obviously a lot more conservative. They're going to be the last states to ever, federally legalize marijuana, but to see them, going backwards and, and to not, go along with the common progressive, feelings of, how society feels about marijuana at this stage is interesting, right? States like South Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana, there are certain parts of these states that I believe have marijuana legalized for medical use. And then there's states that have it, completely legalized for recreational use. So, this is all just a form of control. It's really confusing, because you say you're in a legal state, like one state over, perhaps say Arizona or New Mexico has it legalized. And so you bring it over state lines, right? Are you going to get in, can you get in trouble for buying it? Is that, and then you're going to get considered trafficking, right? For bringing it over state lines. So it's all the matrix, obviously, forms of control. I don't think it should have ever been, criminalized. Although it should be, all drugs. You can't see. Then you go to the point where it's like, can all drugs be legalized? And then, of course, not, because there's people that will abuse them, right? So you have to put up some type of sanctions when it comes to drugs, obviously. But marijuana, it can be considered a drug, obviously, yes. So, but some people don't consider it a drug. See, it's not like one of those drugs like cocaine or meth, where it's like, okay, we know that's a drug, right? Everybody can agree that cocaine and meth are drugs, right? But then you ask somebody, is weed a drug? And most people will say no. I feel like the common, narrative on marijuana is that weed is, okay. Most people would agree. But then you have people that would completely oppose weed and marijuana, right? So it's one of those things, But according to reports, new rules from the Texas Department of State Health Services now ban stores from selling any smokable form of THC, including hemp-derived products, and this takes effect in Texas March 31st. So one of the comments here says, banning THC in 2026 is insane. We're going backwards, LMAO. This person in the comment says, boo, Texas. This person says, they want to keep your mind closed. This person says, you can walk around with a rocket launcher in public, but God forbid you smoke a blunt. Right. All right. So continuing on with more news, we have things about GTA 6 you should know. All right. So GTA 6 is going to be dropping here soon. A lot of people excited. Let me know if you're excited. I'm excited to see what all that money that they're spending on it, what it turns out to look like and how advanced it is. It should be the most advanced game ever, right? Theoretically, since it's the most expensive game ever made, or will be. So let's close this link right here, and we're going to find our next news piece right here. We go. See, we do it live, folks. That's the thing about the StormCast is, I like to bring you guys my perspective on the things, but also bring you what's actually real and what's actually happening. And I have so many tabs open. So that's why it's taking me a while, folks, to find the slide. But I do have the slide. I see it right here. But I need to open it now. And let me know how your day is going down in the chat, by the way, if you're tuning in. Drop a W in the chat. And if you're watching the live replay, also drop a W. Okay, so share. Go back. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do two things at once here. All right, there we go. Got it. All right, so share screen. All right, so here we have things about GTA 6 you didn't know. Okay. This was posted 2 days ago from Facts on Instagram. And if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, what are you doing? All right, here we have Icy Mick at Icy Mick. As you see here, just recently posted a story going a lot. Tune in for episode 52 of the StormCast. All right. So there you have it, folks, at Icy Mick on Instagram and at the StormCast as well. We have a StormCast Instagram account as well. Follow us on there. We are trying to get to 1K followers on the StormCast Instagram. All right. So things about GTA 6 you didn't know. All right. So a lot of people anticipating GTA 6. It's going to be exciting. Comes out at the end of this year or apparently that's the date set in stone, right? They're not going to move it further back anymore. They're not going to push the release back anymore. Apparently Rockstar has said the set release date is, I believe, in November. Okay, so here are some things you didn't know. So 65% of the buildings are going to be enterable. Unlike previous games where most doors were painted on, GTA 6 features an unprecedented level of interior exploration in Vice City. So 65% of the buildings are going to be enterable. That's going to be insane because there's going to be apparently a lot. It's going to be a huge map, one of the biggest maps, all right, in gaming lore. Open world, of course. And so if more than half of the buildings are going to be, able to go inside and do stuff, that's going to be, that's going to be cool. If we're going to get to the point, hopefully, where it's 100% of the buildings where it's like that's my goal, like for the future of gaming, where it's like an open AI game and, it's like an open world game and it's the real world, right? Earth, the entire Earth. You can play kind of like a GTA open world type, but with, our actual planet. That would be, I think that'll be here in the next 10 years, a game like that, I believe, right? Because if we're spending $2 billion on GTA 6, right, the next game, someone's gonna have to top that. So yeah, the next fact about GTA 6 you probably didn't know is that there's going to be an in-game social media platform. Right, the world has its own TikTok style platform. Your crimes can go viral in game, making NPCs recognize you and pull out their phones. Okay, that's going to be interesting to see what people, are posting on. So this is super meta here. We're getting real meta. I'm gonna have social media platforms in a game. All right, that's gonna be awesome to see. So next we have dynamic physical changes. Characters physically change based on your gameplay. If you hit the gym or eat junk food, your character's model reflects it in real time. All right, so your character can gain weight, lose weight. I feel like San Andreas already had that. With Grand Theft Auto San Andreas back in the day, you could like go to the gym and work out. I think you can also. I don't know if you could do that in GTA 5, but definitely in San Andreas, I remember you could go to the gym and upgrade your player. Or I don't know if your player got fat, but so yeah, if you eat junk food, apparently your character can get fat. Next, we have the tactical law enforcement. The police no longer just spawn in. They use canine units, riot shields, and actual flanking tactics to box you in. Okay, so we're no longer the days where you can just, finesse the cops in GTA. You have to, actually worry about them, having tactics now. So that's going to be interesting to see. Next up, we have advanced AI NPCs. Every NPC is going to have adaptive memory. If you cause chaos in their neighborhood, they'll remember your face and react differently next time. Okay. Okay, so now the NPCs are going to be AI improved. So the civilians are going to react more realistically, remembering, crimes that you did in game to them and responding, and treating you differently and, talking junk to you, I guess. So I guess they can have beef with NPCs. NPCs are no longer NPCs, right? Next, we have persistent world damage. Certain environmental destruction, like a gas station explosion, can remain visible for days as NPCs arrive to fix the damage. Okay, that's going to be cool. So not only can gas stations explode, now there's going to be like building damage. Okay, so that is it for things you should know about GTA 6. So apparently the world won't just be bigger, it'll be smarter. The game is going to be so good. This person says when this game is finally released, it's going to take days to download and it's going to have so many bugs and crashes. It's going to be ridiculous. Someone says, how many hard drives will I need? Yeah, so a lot of people excited, can't wait for it to finally be released. Okay. Now, moving on, did you guys hear that Congress is considering adding women to the mandatory U.S. military draft? All right, and this will completely change everything because right now it's only men that are 18 and older get, enrolled in the selective service program, which is, something that seems all too real, and might need to be implemented as we are in war, right? And people are going to be getting shipped overseas, deployed in order to fight this war, perhaps, possibly. But if we get to the point where we need, women, and we're relying on women to fight the war, I don't think we're in too good of a shape. Shout out to the women, obviously, who are in the military. My mom was in the military. They obviously play their role, right? But you want your country to have its strongest, most capable soldiers. And, of course, women are going to play different roles. Like everybody plays a different role. Not everybody's obviously on the front line shooting guns. You need logistics, operatives, pilots, things of that nature. So apparently lawmakers in the U.S. Congress are debating a proposal that would require women to register for the military draft, just like men currently must. Right now, only men aged 18 to 25 are required to sign up with the Selective Service System, but some legislators argue that expanding registration to women would make the system more equal and reflect the modern role of women serving in the military. So, even if Congress changes the rule, it does not mean a draft would begin immediately. A military draft can only happen if Congress and the president approve activating it during a national emergency. So, if it were ever used, the system would likely rely on a lottery based on birth dates, similar to the process used during the Vietnam War. So you guys let me know your thoughts on this. This person says these studs about to be in sundresses this summer. Watch. So yeah, all of a sudden, women become more feminine during world wartime. This person says Congress want the kids home alone. I wonder why. This person says we are cooked. All right, you guys let me know your thoughts. I thought that comment was funny that these studs about to be in sundresses this summer. Yeah, I know, right? They're gonna find a man quick. And or all of a sudden they're not down for the cause. All right. Moving on, but also keeping in in related news, I suppose, this topic, this news piece kind of piggybacks off of that, as we are in World War III. World War III continues. All right, so wild facts about the U.S.-Iran war happening right now. Let's just get right into it. So we are sending planes and bombs into Iran currently, and Iran is doing the same to countries such as Israel and other countries, apparently. That's what's being said. So this was 4 days ago, but it would be 16 days now. The war has started 16 days ago. So on February 28th, 2026, the U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, as Trump would say, conducting nearly 900 strikes across Iran in the first 12 hours alone. Iran's supreme leader was killed on day one, Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader for 35 years. He was killed in the first wave of strikes on February 28th. His son, Moshtaba, was elected to replace him on March 8th, 2026. And today is March 18th, 2026. And I think that his son, Moshtaba, was actually assassinated. If I heard the news correctly. Let me see. Let me ask. Is Moshtaba Gotta get my facts straight here. Still alive. And, I got to bring you the most accurate, up-to-date news. Yes, he is believed to be alive. Okay, so I was hearing rumors that, a lot of rumors circulating that Benjamin Netanyahu actually was assassinated, but killed. But I don't think that's true. I don't know. There's a lot of AI videos going around of him. I don't think he is. But you know how the internet is, right? Lies spread quickly, fake news all over the place. You got to be careful what you what you read and what you believe. The U.S. has already hit over 5,000 targets inside of Iran. Okay. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed as of March 10th that the U.S. has struck more than 5,000 targets inside Iran, focusing on missile sites and nuclear programs. All right, so a lot of bombs going off in Iran right now. Iran has fired 500 missiles and 2,000 drones back. By March 5th, Iran had fired over 500 ballistic missiles and nearly 2,000 drones at U.S. bases and Gulf states, targeting at least 27 bases across 9 countries. So this is the narrative being put out, right? That Iran is targeting 9 other countries, apparently, right? So U.S. bombers are now flying from England. 8 B-1B Lancers and 3 B-52 Strato Fortresses are staged at RAF Fairford, UK, cutting flight time to Iran roughly in half. The UK granted access on March 1st after initial refusal. All right, so they're taking off from our ally, England, right? So Iran shut the world's most critical oil route. Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. 20% of the world's oil passes through it. The U.S. military destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels near the strait as of March 10th. All right, and so this isn't good for anybody, right? Because if 20% of the world's oil passes through it, what does that mean for us if it gets shut down, and the trickle effect that it has on other countries and the prices that will go up, because oil is used for everything, not just gas and cars, but plane travel, buses, trains. So this could be a significant economic impact. The human cost is climbing every day, right? So the Pentagon confirmed at least 7 U.S. soldiers have been killed and around 140 wounded. Iran says over 1,300 civilians have been killed. More than 43,000 Americans have been evacuated from the region. This is day 12, and it is still escalating, right? So technically, it would be day 16 now, okay? Defense Secretary Hegseth declared March 10th our most intense day of strikes yet. Iran launched its most intense operation of the war overnight, firing missiles at Israel, Gulf states, and ships in the Strait. All right, so Iran is firing back, it appears. Perhaps not the what we thought was going to happen. Probably thought we are going to go in there and just blow some, nuclear facilities up and, bomb some buildings and call it a day, right? But no, they are fighting back, right? They have, Allah on their side, and they are defending, and they have the right to defend themselves, I believe. But how we got in this war, I've said it a million times. Obviously, we know we're fighting Israel's war, but the fact that we have even let ourselves get to involved in this is still baffling. And that is that's what you should know about what's going on right now, a little bit anyway. Here we have Trump asking about Russia. Trump is asked about Russia helping Iran target U.S. troops and facilities. All right, so is Russia helping Iran? Let's see here. Share this tab. All right, hold on. Let's add some volume and restart.
Easy problem compared to what we're doing here.
Volume.
It sounds like the Russians are helping.
It sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack America.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here. But can I be honest? It's just, I have a lot of respect for you. You've always been very nice to me. What a stupid question that is to be asking at this time. Peter, I'll give you one more chance because that was a bad question you asked before. Go ahead.
We've already got a lot of sound bites
leave him in the
about the
like
sports. Can I ask one off topic?
On topic.
On topic. Okay.
Which is unusual for you. Go ahead.
Thank you. What is motivating you to do this right now? Because there is a lot of other stuff going on in the world.
Right. That's right. There's a lot. We're doing by the way, in Iran, we're doing very well. Somebody said, how would you score it from 0 to 10? I said, I'd give it a 12 to a 15. Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their air force is wiped out entirely. Think of it. They have 32 ships. All 32 are at the bottom of the ocean. Other than that, they're doing very well, Coach. Peter, the fact is we're talking about colleges that are going to go out of business by many, many colleges are going to be out of business. This isn't just about student athletes. This is about our whole educational system is going to go out of business because of this. So I understand what you're saying in terms of the level of importance, but to me, this is very important. Very, very important. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right. There you have it, folks. That is Trump responding to being asked about Russia helping Iran target U.S. troops and facilities. And he didn't even answer the question. He kind of just danced around it right there. I don't even think he said anything about Russia helping Iran, but he kind of dismissed it as if it was ludicrous. But it's a very well possibility that China and Russia are, helping Iran fight this war as we are helping Israel, because we are fighting Israel's war. So they realized that. And they realized that we're teaming up on Iran. Iran is their, they have their own relationships, right? Iran and China and Russia, they have their own, political talks, and and they're realizing that that we don't need Israel and America to be bullying up on us, right? We don't need that. So perhaps they are helping them out, right, in order to a lot of people say we're fighting this war. We're actually fighting China and Russia as well. But just, Iran is the battlefield, right? Which explains that, people fund wars. This is all just, obviously controlled. And, this all has a deeper meaning than what a lot of people may realize, right? It goes a lot deeper down the line than just a couple countries fighting each other. So here we have the business of war, the US-Iran war. Here's what 14 days of war actually costs. So it costs $5.6 billion in missiles and bombs just in the first 48 hours, that is. The Pentagon burned through $5.6 billion in munitions in the first 2 days. 3 U.S. officials confirmed it to the Washington Post. Congress had not approved a dollar of it. Can you believe that? They've spent in the first 48 hours $5.6 billion in missiles and bombs alone. Not, that doesn't even account for everything else, right? So that's where your tax dollars are going. The first 100 hours cost $3.7 billion. 94% of it was not in the budget. So CSIS calculated $891 million per day for the first 100 hours. $3.5 billion of the $3.7 billion total was completely unbudgeted. The Pentagon will need Congress to approve emergency funding. Okay. 6 days it has cost. So in the 6 days, the first 6 days of the war, it cost $11.3 billion, right? And that is the low number. The Pentagon told Congress the first 6 days cost $11.3 billion in a closed door meeting. Senator Coons said the real figure is, quote, significantly above that. Munitions replacement alone tops $10 billion, right? So absolutely preposterous numbers that we're talking. Let's go back. So this war started spending before the first bomb dropped. So moving carriers, destroyers, and over 100 aircraft into position cost $630 million before a single strike even happened. Former senior Pentagon budget official Elaine McCusker confirmed the figure to the Wall Street Journal. $630 million just for the travel. One missile costs $2.2 million. One bomb, that costs $25,000. The U.S. opened with Tomahawk cruise missiles at $2.2 million each. By day 4, the Pentagon shifted to JDAM guided bombs costing as little as $25,000. Right, as little as $25,000, right? The cost per strike dropped 99%, right? So perhaps we didn't anticipate this war to last as long, and we are running out of, war money, right? It's not like we're not gonna, just print it out of nowhere. But either way, there's a budget for these wars, so we're only, if we're only estimating the war will last, as Trump estimated it, a couple of days, a week, 4 days, it's looking like it's going to be a couple months, perhaps years, right? Like This is a worthy opponent that the United States is dealing with, along with Israel. But it's not just Iran; it's Russia and China, and so very scary. Iran fires a $30,000 drone. The U.S. shoots it down with a $12.7 million missile. So if we're doing basic math here, $12.7 million to counter a $30,000 drone, that would leave us, about $12.7 million, behind, right? So that's obviously losing money when it comes to this war, right? Our weapons are much more expensive than the cheap $30,000 drones that the other that the opposition is using. And when I say opposition, I don't mean my opposition. I mean the opposition of the United States, right? Because I don't support this war, right? I don't support the United States being over there and spending my tax dollars to do so, to fund this, right? So it's my thoughts as an American. You guys let me know your thoughts. Either way, each THAAD interceptor costs $12.77 million. $12.7 million, right? Per Pentagon FY 2025 documents. Iranian drones cost $20,000 to $50,000. The U.S. spends up to 600 times more to defend than Iran spends to attack, right? So 3 fighter jets lost in one morning. The replacement cost was, a slight $282 million. Kuwaiti air defenses shot down 3 U.S. F-15E Strike Eagles on March 2nd. The F-15E is out of production. With each replacement F-15EX costs $94 million. Total hardware loss, $282 million. All right. So they're shooting down the F-15s, right? And which they no longer produce. The total bill could hit $210 billion. Penn Wharton budget model projects $40 to $95 billion in direct costs for 200 months of war. Add economic damage, and the total reaches $210 billion, all on the national budget, all on the national debt, rather. All right. So, a lot going on there. A lot of, budget talk behind the war, but that's just showing you, I just want to show you how expensive, these wars are. And it's, insane to think about, how much money, this war could potentially cost us, and the ramifications of, all of the bombings of, oil refineries and shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz, and what that could potentially implicate, right? So, continuing on, Iran war shakes gas and oil prices. Gas prices following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran are emerging as a political challenge for President Donald Trump, just weeks after he touted falling fuel costs in his State of the Union address.
Been shut down amid this war, sending shockwaves through the markets with gas jumping nation.
All right, it didn't start over, but Anyways,
Wide from an average of
it says here, amid the Iran war, the U.S. national gas average has jumped to $3.48, up from about $3 a week ago. All right, so gas prices going up, folks.
292 in Kansas.
This is a result of the oil war that we are. This isn't our first oil war either. We went to Iraq and did the same thing, right? And blamed it, and said that it was in the name of fighting, the holy war versus Islam and radical Islam, but they paint them as an enemy, but they only do so we can go over there and fight and fight for and take their stuff, and colonize, right? And it's been like this since the beginning of time, and it won't end, folks. It's not gonna end. And it doesn't help that the current administration under Trump is they obviously seem like they want war, right? And obviously it's compromised, right? His administration. By who, you ask? I would say the Zionist lobby, right? But and it goes deeper than that, obviously, and the connections with Epstein and the families that control the world and the banking systems and all that. Well, let's continue on.
To more than $5 a gallon in California.
The reality of the war in Iran is showing up at gas stations nationwide.
Oh, the gas prices going up is very frustrating.
Prices have shot up about 50 cents a gallon in just the last week.
Just watching the gas prices go from like $3.20 all the way up to $3.80 has been really scary.
A major shipping route for oil has effectively been shut down amid this war, sending shockwaves through the markets, with gas jumping nationwide from an average of $2.
That's that. All right.
As we had it very low, but I had to take this little detour.
So this is President Trump addressing rising gas prices. Quote, "We had it very low, but I had to take this little detour if it's okay with everybody." Right, if it's okay with everybody. Is it okay to you at home? Let me know. Do you care if the gas goes up just, in all in the name of fighting this war?
Or if it's okay with everybody, Scott, it's okay with you. As we had it very low, but I had to take this little detour. If it's okay with everybody, Scott, it's okay with you. As we had it very low, but I had to take this.
This is Trump deciding he doesn't want to go to war with Iran anymore after seeing gas prices go up.
No, I don't really feel like it.
But I don't understand.
No.
Goat SpongeBob. So here we have Polymarket bet will gas hit high $4 by March 31st. And there's a 71% chance. So people betting on it on Polymarket. Right. Apparently gas is at $8 in Los Angeles, right? $8. I know their prices are usually high, but $8. She wanted to have dinner somewhere really expensive. Took her to the gas station.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So Trump said he thinks the war could end very soon, helping trigger a correction in oil prices. All right. Let's play this from Fox News.
Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to...
soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would...
All right. So he's when asked about if the war will end soon, he says very soon. Even the leadership, very soon. Very soon, and I mean very soon, the soonest of soons. That's my Trump impression. Iran after Trump tried ending the war early. We're done when I say we're done. Huh. That's from is that Breaking Bad? I never did watch Breaking Bad. I couldn't get through the first episode. I don't think I did. Maybe I did watch the first episode, right? But definitely couldn't get through the second one. A lot of people, praise Breaking Bad, and I don't see it. But y'all let me know if you're into Breaking Bad. Either way, continuing on, Trump says that the war. So this is U.S.-Iran ceasefire by March 31st. There's a 31% chance that that's going to happen on Polymarket. All right. So if you want to make some extra bucks, I'm not sponsored by Polymarket. Polymarket sponsor me. I talk about you guys a lot. It seems like every episode. Either way, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, disrupting global tanker routes and sending oil prices higher. So here's the Strait of Hormuz. And
We're also.
So Trump said he is waiving some oil sanctions to lower prices. Additionally, the U.S. Navy will escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if needed.
Waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through. We're also
Pirates of the Caribbean. Shout out Pirates of the Caribbean. Fire scene right here. So crude oil hit $119, then dropped 30% to $85 after Trump signaled optimism on the war ending. All right. Crude oil prices dropped like a meme coin rug pull. So on Polymarket, the question being asked is, will crude oil hit high $100 by end of March? And there's a 63% chance of that oil will reach $100 per barrel by the end of the month, according to Polymarket. This trader on Polymarket loaded up on no across Iran-related markets, and it's paying off big. They're up nearly $359,000. Wow. So if you go on Polymarket and bet whether this war is going to last a long time, guys, you might make some money, right? I might have to do that, right? Because obviously that's what I should have been doing this whole time. Because whenever there's a war, there's a lot of money to be made. So this guy says, ready when you are. All right, so that's that. Let's check out some of the comments. This person says, best president ever, with a smiling face, with a crying face, rather. This person says, we are being scammed into paying high fuel prices. U.S. doesn't even use Iranian oil. Is that true? This person says, I don't feel bad for Los Angeles. they love Democrat policy, so they voted for California's clean energy policy. I don't know, but whether or not we use Iranian oil, well, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter if we're using it. If we buy from another country that's using it, you know, then technically we're using their oil, right? So, you know, continuing on, the U.S. carries out strikes on Iran's oil reserve after Trump's warning. Let's check it out. Look at that. There's a lot of, you know, it looks like a lot of smoke from an oil refinery being blown up here. So we have some videos. Let's check them out. And I don't think these are AI folks, though. These are real, apparently. Oh, yeah.
نابود کرد. نابود کرد. داره خودش میزنه دیگه یکی که من باهایی نفتارم.
Like hell. Very scary stuff.
نترس الو نترس هم اینجا خوبه انبار نفت رو زد انبار نفت نه نترس
بیا خونه ما
آره نترس خدا
نترسید
از آسانسور هم نیاد
مامان از آسانسور نیا بیا مامان بلند شو بیا
یواش بیا
بلند شو بیا خدا
نترسید چی عجل
Some pictures here. Looks like end times type stuff. Very scary to walk outside of your house and see that in the middle of the night, right? You think the world's over. So here we have Donald Trump brings Jake Paul on stage and predicts a future for him in political office. All right, so Jake Paul and Donald Trump been you know, collabing. And so Donald Trump brought Jake Paul on stage. And so let's check it out. Oh, it says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Hopefully if I refresh it, it works. Give me a sec. Yep.
Yeah, what Mr. Trump has taught me is courage. You know, we never back down from a fight, even if they're much bigger than you, much bigger than you. And I feel all the local Kentuckians feel the same way. You guys have that fight. You guys have that swag. There's a lot of young kids in here. The future of America. I grew up just a few hours away from here. My dad taught me to fight. And all of our voices matter in America. And I'm never afraid to speak the truth. And I know you guys aren't. We are here representing the United States, and it's just a blessing. Thank you, Mr. Trump. We need more factories like this thriving all over the country, and I know he's going to be the one to bring that here to us. I know God is with us. I know he wants us on the right side of history, and everyone here has to do their part, and God's got us. Trump's got us. God bless. Love you, Kentucky.
Oh, what? Since when did, I don't know, this is all over the place. So since when did Jake Paul, you know, become some type of political like figurehead. I don't know. I just thought Jake Paul was a a podcast boxer. I guess he's a mogul. He does have his own stuff going on companies and whatnot. But just like as far as political leaning, I wouldn't look towards Jake Paul, right? I feel like Trump could have used anybody. I guess Jake Paul does have a lot of influence in the youth. A lot of kids look up to him and whatnot, but super random. I did know Jake Paul supported him a lot during his campaign. Telling people to vote for him and stuff. But yeah.
He's a courageous guy and a talented guy. He's a hell of a fighter, too, by the way. And I just want to say, I'm going to make a prediction that you will be, in the not too distant future, running for political office. Okay? And you have my complete and total endorsement, okay? No, that's what we want. He's an incredible guy. He's a courageous guy and a talented guy.
Endorsing Jake Paul. Would y'all vote for Jake Paul for president? Y'all let me know. I guess at this point, anybody, right? Can be, why not? This person in the comments says clown show. Got 17,000 likes. This person says, ain't nobody voting for Jake Paul. This person says, why he got ocean on his armpit. This person says, he's not even American. He lives in Puerto Rico. Yeah, I guess Jake Paul does live in Puerto Rico, doesn't he? That would, even though, is Puerto Rico is not a U.S. territory, right? That's the DR. All right. So here we have Jake Paul tells Trump that it's shocking that people are not liking the current war. All right. So let's see what this is all about. Let's see.
A bit shocked too. Like everyone else in the world was like, this is the greatest thing. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And I was shocked that so many activists like in America didn't like it, but meanwhile they're like, oh well, we support women, we want women to have all these rights. Meanwhile you're liberating the women of Iran, and then they have an issue with it. I thought that was very confusing.
I think I have tremendous support on this. This is something that's been incredible. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had now.
Yeah.
And it's not because of this. I think we've just, the economy is great. It's a little bit of we take a little winding road for a little while, but we have to wipe out the evil.
I was a bit shocked too. Like everyone else in the world was like,
we have to take a winding road and wipe out the evil. I don't know how evil Iran is. I mean, obviously there's a lot of propaganda, proposed that, that if they get a nuclear weapon, they're going to use it. But I mean, I feel like, most countries have a nuclear weapon. And, with nuclear power obviously does come responsibility. But who are we to tell Iran they can't have a nuclear weapon? Is that what makes them evil? No, it's because they threaten Israel, right? And the Greater Israel Project movement that, is what we're fighting this war for, right? Is to expand Israel's, and Zionism and Jewry throughout Europe. But he said a lot of things here. About his poll numbers. I don't know if his poll numbers are actually, as high as he is saying they are. I heard they were actually low. That he had like some of the lowest numbers he's ever had. Let's ask ChatGPT, even though ChatGPT is compromised, right? And we know who owns ChatGPT. Let's ask ChatGPT, even though and we know who owns Trump, right? So same people that own ChatGPT own Trump, but we're gonna ask ChatGPT either way. Are Donald Trump's approval ratings high or low?
Donald Trump's approval ratings are currently low, with recent polls showing his approval between about 39 and 43%, while disapproval is around 55 to 56%. For example, a Quinnipiac poll in March 2026 found just 37% approval and 57% disapproval. Overall, his net approval remains negative, suggesting a shaky position ahead of upcoming elections.
Okay, so what he says is a lie, right? He has been known to lie, right?
Yeah, that's
Obviously,
been a pretty
these politicians
consistent pattern
are
with him. He
are
often
not
claims
truthful.
things that don't line up with actual polling or fact checks.
So I do have the actual numbers. Apparently, his approval ratings are currently low, right? With his approval between 39 and 43%, and his disapproval around 55 to 56%. In March of this year, they found just 37% approval and 57% disapproval. So overall, his approval is not high, as he's telling Jake Paul here. So obviously lies. Can't see that, folks. That's why it's important to do your own research. Right, and with that being said, let's transition a little bit here. All right. There was, something that happened recently in the news that I saw and wanted to read up on. So this coming from WAFB 9 local, which is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A suspect accused of graping a 94-year-old, now accused in 4 grapes. All right. So let's see what's going on here. Fair use, of course.
Granger knows that if you're a school custodian, cleanliness is your top priority. That's
well, we're gonna mute that because I'm not sponsored by the ad company that is currently advertising. Hold up. So let's pause this, give it some volume, and can we make it widescreen? We can. All right.
The I-team, new rape charges for the man accused of attacking and raping an elderly woman here in Baton Rouge. Jeremiah Taylor now stands accused of a 4th rape. Prosecutors say he raped one victim at least 3 times in the past and then went on to rape a 94-year-old woman. The elderly rape victim is recovering and was just sent home from the hospital this week.
Wow.
Granger knows that as the procurement coordinator and manufacturing plant.
Very good. All right. And, at face value, it doesn't sound good at all. Obviously here in America, we have, right to a fair trial, right? But if he is, convicted and, determined guilty of these crimes, that does not look good at him. But, we have the right to remain innocent until proven guilty. So let's continue reading on.
9 News at noon. I'm Matt Venezia. A teenage girl missing from Zachary has been found at a truck stop out of.
Okay, that's something completely separate. All right, so let's read on about this suspect in Baton Rouge. Let's find out what's going on here. So in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, District Attorney Hiller Moore said an arrest warrant signed this week shows Jeremiah Taylor is now implicated in additional rape. All right, and this was updated March 11th. All right, so that was what? Last week. Okay, so Moore said Taylor is now accused of raping the same victim 3 times and a second victim who is 94 years old. The alleged grapes. The alleged grapes began in 2023, according to Moore. Following his release from jail, he's accused of raping the same victim twice after that. One of those alleged grapes happened the day after Taylor was released from jail in January. When Taylor got out in January, he was free for about a month and a half when he was accused of raping the 94-year-old last week. Taylor said, quote, F no, when asked if he raped a 94-year-old on his way to jail. The elderly rape victim is recovering and was discharged from the hospital this week, according to the WAFBI team. All right, so I'll keep you updated on that, folks. What type of world are we living in, right? Where someone is, not only raping women, but 94 years old, bro. You can't go and get a younger chick, right? Someone your age, man. You gotta, disrespect your elders like that, man. Nobody ever taught you to respect your elders. That's just sick, really, man. It's just, sick world we're living in, evil world we're living in. And that's why it's more important than ever to, hold tight to your faith, build a relationship with God, get right with God, and protect yourself and your loved ones, right? Because it is an evil world we are living in. So, continuing on here, we're going to get into our first topic of today's episode, which is protecting the powerful. All right, so this is protecting the world's most powerful leaders, the world's best security, the insane security, protecting world leaders. So the Beast limo is the U.S. president's limousine, which weighs about 20,000 pounds with military-grade armor, bulletproof glass, run-flat tires, and emergency oxygen and blood supply. Then you have the mobile blood supply, which the world leaders often travel with, pre-matched blood, and a medical kit, allowing emergency transfusions within seconds. Mobile blood supply. All right. And then you have motorcade deception. Multiple identical motorcades move on different routes, so no one knows which vehicle carries the rural leader, right? So, identical decoy vehicles run alongside, while a dedicated countermeasure, is implemented in suburban areas, which jams all remote signals, blocks drones, and disrupts GPS tracking around the entire motorcade. Then you have the electronic shield. Advanced systems jam signals, block drones, stop remote detonations, and disrupt GPS tracking around the leader. The leader also has a 48-hour security sweep. Security teams arrive 48 hours earlier to scan for threats, check people, and map all entry and exit points. Right? And this is something like the Secret Service for the president, or KGB for, Putin, or, other leaders have their own, form of security service dedicated to them. Then you have the hidden ballistic armor. Podiums, chairs, tables, and floors near leaders often contain hidden ballistic armor panels for protection. All right, so where you think they're sitting at just a regular podium, it actually has all type of counter protection measures implemented within it. So continuing on, this is why world leaders are almost impossible to reach or harm. Right? So there's a reason world leaders are almost impossible to reach. The protection around them operates on a different level. So the beast, it weighs 20,000 pounds and has 8-inch thick doors built to withstand rockets, bombs, and chemical attacks. Only 2 people know the full specifications. All right, so that's what the president rides around in. And then you have food tasters and poison detection still exist. Some leaders have their meals tested before eating. Vladimir Putin is reported to travel with his own food supply. Kim Jong-un is said to bring his own portable toilet on trips. All right, kind of paranoid of you, Kim Jong. You think someone's going to blow up your toilet or what? Stick something in your... Yeah. And then you have snipers on every rooftop. Counter sniper teams are positioned on nearby rooftops. Armed with high caliber rifles, they can stop threats from over a mile away. All right, I got snipers on every roof. Then you have decoy motorcades and body doubles. Several identical motorcades move along different routes. Some leaders reportedly use body doubles, making it difficult to know which convoy is real. The Beast carries president's blood type. The presidential limo carries blood matching the president's type. If an attack happens, a transfusion can begin immediately. The vehicle functions like a mobile emergency room. Airspace is completely locked down. No-fly zones are enforced by fighter jets. Drones are disabled automatically. Unauthorized aircraft can be shot down without warning. Secret Service agents are human shields. Elite bodyguards are trained to shield their leader with their own bodies. Their reaction time is under 1 second, and they are authorized to use lethal force if a threat is detected. Electronic countermeasures block all signals. Cell phone jammers block remote detonations. AI systems scan crowds in real time. Communications near the leader are monitored and intercepted. All right. So let's see what some of these comments are talking about. We do know leaders like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un are known for extreme personal security measures, including controlled food preparation in highly restricted environments. Also, underground bunkers, rapid response teams, encrypted communications, and layered intelligence networks are all part of modern executive protection. Most of what exists is never made public, and what we know is only a fraction. So, this person says, but Trump's ear took a break. Yeah, if we believe that assassination attempt is real, which a lot of people speculate, it did look real to me, but it could have been a false flag. As we know Trump's not the most trustworthy of guys. As he told us, he's going to stop all wars, right? And look what's going on. What are we in right now? But I'm also under the belief that we've always been in a war, and that we're always in a war of some type with someone, whether we have it on the news or not. We're always in conflict with someone. So here, I want to transfer topics. Coming up next, we've got the stealthiest submarines ever made and how aircraft carriers work, how they really work, right? So here are the stealthiest submarines on Earth. The Seawolf class, which is a U.S. submarine. Estimated cost, roughly $3 billion. Max depth, 1,600 feet. Submerged speed, 35 knots or around 40 miles per hour. Its displacement weight, around 9,138 tons. holds a crew size of 140. Its key weaponry, it has 50x heavyweight torpedoes and Tomahawk missiles. Next up, we have the Yesen M class, which is a Russian submarine. Estimated cost roughly $1.6 billion. Max depth 600 meters. Submerged speed 35 knots or around 40 miles per hour. Displacement weight around 13,800 tons. Holding a crew size of 64. Has key weaponry of 32x Zircon hypersonic missiles. Next, we have the Virginia class Block V, another U.S. submarine. Estimated cost around $3.6 billion. Max depth around 800 feet. Submerged speed around 25 knots or 29 miles per hour. Displacement weight around 10,200 tons, holding a crew size of 132, wielding 40x Tomahawk cruise missiles. Next, we have the Astute class, a UK submarine. Estimated cost $2 billion, max depth 300 meters or around 984 feet. Submerged speed 30 knots or around 35 miles per hour. Displacement weight around 7,400 tons, holding a crew size of around 98, wielding 38x Spearfish torpedoes and Tomahawk missiles. So that is the Astute class, the UK submarine. Next, we have Project 09852, Belgorod, a Russian submarine. Estimated cost, classified but estimated around $200 or $2 billion rather, $2 billion. Max depth around 500 meters or 1,600 feet. Submerged speed roughly 32 knots or 37 miles per hour. Displacement weight around 24,000 tons, holding a crew size of roughly 110. Wielding 6x Poseidon nuclear tsunami torpedoes. Next, we have the Ohio class SSGN, another U.S. submarine with an estimated cost of around $2 billion, plus conversion, that is, with a max depth of nearly 244 meters or around 800 feet. Submerged speed 25 knots. Displacement weight 18,750 tons, holding a crew size of 155, wielding the 154x Tomahawk cruise missiles. Next, we have the Suffering class Barracuda, a French submarine rather. Estimated cost roughly $2 billion. All of these submarines seem to be roughly $2 billion, with a max depth of 350 meters or around 100 or 1,150 feet. Submerged speed 25 plus knots, around 30 miles per hour. Displacement weight around 5,300 tons, with a crew size of 65, wielding MDCN naval cruise missiles and F-21 torpedoes. All right. So, continuing on with, more vessels. Let's continue to the true size of an aircraft carrier. Okay. So let's check out. We talked all about, aircraft carriers, the A. Ford class carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, and their capabilities and some of their capabilities when they talking about the Iran war, and the flights and that they the aircraft that they hold, and their scale. But let's reveal their true scale. All right, and talk more about the massive size of their their ship and the flight decks that they can wield and carry, to the thousands of sailors and aircraft they support while operating, and pretty much operating as a floating military airbase. All right, so it's longer than 3 football fields. The USS Gerald R. Ford stretches 1,106 feet from bow to stern. 3 standard American football fields back to back measure 900 feet. The carrier clears that by over 200 feet, right? So it may not seem as large, just looking at it from like an aerial view, but when you actually go on these things, right? 3 football fields, that's a huge vessel. The flight deck is 5 acres. That is not a figure of speech. The official U.S. Navy program document lists the Ford-class flight deck at 5 usable acres. Fighter jets take off and land on it while the ship moves at over 30 knots. All right, so that's roughly like 35 to 40 miles per hour, or 45 to 50, somewhere around there, anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour. Let's see. Let's actually see that 30 knots. 2 miles per hour. I think it's around like maybe even, yeah. So it's okay. So like 34, 35 miles per hour. So it feeds 15,000 people every day. The kitchens run nearly around the clock. With roughly 5,000 sailors on board, the ship serves over 15,000 meals daily. It has its own hospital, dentist, barber, gym, and post office. It cost $13.3 billion to build. That is the construction cost of a single Ford-class carrier, not including its aircraft, not including its escort ships, just the hull. The nuclear reactor never needs refueling. 2 A-1B nuclear reactors power the ship for its entire 50-year service life without a single refuel stop. The carrier can sail anywhere on Earth indefinitely without stopping for fuel. The U.S. has 11. The entire rest of the world has 39. As of 2026, there are 50 active carriers across 15 nations. The U.S. operates 11. Every other nation or country on the planet combined operates 39. Right? That just goes to show you how much money we put into our military budget compared to other countries as well. It is never alone, right? An aircraft carrier always moves with a carrier strike group, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and a supply ship. The group itself covers an operational area larger than most city-states. Wow. All right. So that's that. That's the the logistics and how aircraft carriers work. So let's move on to our next topic. We have an interesting one. The cruelest weapons ever made and most powerful missiles by country. All right. So these weapons were banned in war for being too cruel. The expanding bullets mushroom inside the body on impact. Shred organs from within. Banned in 1899. Still legal for police and civilians. Okay. So illegal in war, but the police and civilians can still use them. Blinding lasers, designed to permanently blind enemy soldiers. Instant irreversible blindness, banned in 1995 before ever being used in combat. Wow, that seems insane, right? Next, we have poison weapons, oldest weapons born. So these are the oldest weapons that have been banned. Right? They were banned in 1675. Poison bullets, toxic blades, contaminated water. Victims suffer for days before dying. Next, we have cluster bombs. Scatter 200 to 600 mini bombs. 40% fail to explode, become landmines that kill civilians for decades after war ends. Right? Imagine walking in your backyard and all of a sudden a cluster bomb goes off and kills you and your entire family. Next, we have incendiary weapons. Napalm and white phosphorus burn at 2,500 degrees Celsius. Stick to skin, cannot be extinguished. Victims burn alive for minutes. Right? And napalm, like they get a napalm strike getting caught on you after they got a 7-kill streak. Next, we have glass-filled bombs. Shrapnel made of glass instead of metal. Invisible to x-rays, doctors cannot remove it. Victims live with glass inside forever. So imagine getting turned into a window because a bomb went off. Next, we have biological weapons. Anthrax, smallpox, plague weaponized. Can wipe out entire populations, spreads uncontrollably. A single release could kill millions. All right, no more biological weapons. Those are banned. As well as all the other weapons on that list. All right. So with one last topic to wrap things up, we've got something I really wanted to look at, which is the world's most powerful missiles by country. All right, so missile power isn't just about explosives. It's about range, speed, and deterrence. All right, so first on our list, the Hwasong-18, a North Korean missile. All right, their first solid fuel ICBM because it uses solid fuel. It can be launched way faster than older models, making it harder to stop. Voice cracked a little bit there, folks. I've been talking a while. My voice is kind of starting to lose its luster. All right. Next, we have the LGM-30G, the Minuteman III, a U.S. missile. It has been primary land-based nuke for decades. All right. So this is a nuke. Next, we have the RS-28 Sarmat, a Russian missile, the heaviest ICBM ever made. One missile can carry 10 or more nuclear warheads. Next on our list is the DF-41, a Chinese missile. It can reach the U.S. in about 20 minutes and carries enough warheads to hit multiple cities at once. All right. Not good for the receiver of that Chinese missile. Next, we have the AGNIV, the Indian missile. The Fire missile, their first cross-continental rocket. Next, we have the M51, a French missile. Carried by France, launched from submarines. It can hit targets 6,000 or more miles away while staying hidden underwater. All right. So that's pretty insane. So yeah, y'all let me know what y'all thought was the most interesting on that list. That was so these weapons are built to be used. They're built so no one dares. Wait, so these weapons aren't built to be used. They're built so no one dares to, rather. All right. So it's better safe to have it than to need it, or to have it and not need it, than need it and not have it, right? As they say. So there you have it, folks. With that being said, that is our episode for today, folks. All right. So, as always, the StormCast is everywhere you find podcasts. So subscribe on YouTube, drop a 5-star review on Spotify, follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Rumble. Your support on Patreon also keeps us going strong, right? All links are going to be down in the description. All right. So y'all go and follow the StormCast on those social media sites, and if you feel inclined, you can support with the Patreon. Right, it's only $5 a month. We have 13 or 14 current active members in the community every month that subscribe, and we, as a community, we do group calls. We FaceTime. I give you behind the scenes content and live streams that I can't do on YouTube. And we do Zoom calls when organized as well in there. So get in there, and you don't have to, but that's also another way to support. All right. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in for today's episode. If you made it to this point, and we currently have 4 people in the live chat. So shout out to y'all across YouTube and Twitter. Elgrin, ping on in the chat. Says WW Elgron in the chat. And so our next episode may or may not have a guest, folks, next week. I know I didn't go live last week, and that's because I had a lot of things come up. I had a lot of things to take care of around the house. A lot of adult stuff, a lot of taking care of business. But we're back, folks, every week. I know today's Wednesday, but we're going to probably get back on our Friday schedule, Friday afternoons around, 3-4 o'clock. That seems like a good time. So make sure to hit those post notification bells on YouTube to get notified when I do go live and when I'm going to go live, right? I think a lot of my content gets pushed down in the algorithm because of some of the content and the, some of the, stuff that I'm, the content that I'm talking about, right? So it's important to, hit those notice. And a lot of people say that they don't even get notified. So I may or may not be, I'm going to say shadow ban, but, perhaps my, just my content isn't getting pushed out like as it should be. So make sure you hit those post notification and stay tuned for when I do go live. And I'm going to be dropping more content, more videos as well here soon, not just StormCast episodes, but we're going to be dropping videos and vlogs here soon as well. More of that type of content. I'm going to be dropping more videos. So stay tuned for that. As always, let me know what your thoughts were on today's topics that we talked about, good or bad. Did they make you feel happy or sad? Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions or any topics you want me to talk about in the next coming episodes, folks, either DM me or comment down below. Right. So with that being said, I want to leave you off with, I have two quotes for you today, 2 stoic quotes for you to meditate on, right, for this week. And the first one is, when a king, hold on, let me get this out my, all right, so the first quote goes, when a king feels that his people are about to rebel, he declares war on another country. This means that when a ruler feels his own people are getting angry and might turn against him, he shifts their attention to an outside enemy. By declaring war on another country, he gives the people a new target for their frustration and fear. Instead of questioning their leader or rebelling against problems at home, they unite against a foreign threat. In simple terms, it's a political strategy. Create an external conflict so people stop focusing on internal problems. The deeper message is that power often survives by controlling where people direct their anger and resistance, right, folks? So don't be so quick to get, rage baited out here, to get distracted by, what you see on the internet, right? Because a lot of times it's, I don't want to say necessarily a distraction, but a lot of times it's a way of controlling, your focus and your, your power, really, your resistance and your ability to be able to resist. So yeah, folks, just know that, if you're being told one thing, it may not always be true, right? When it comes to who you should side with or what you should think about what's going on around the world, right? Make sure to do your own research and look into things yourself, and don't be so quick to believe everything that the media tells you or someone on the internet tells you, right? And the second quote I want to leave you off with for today is, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. Okay. And so what this means is that if you are not involved in the room where decisions are being made, those decisions will likely be made against you, not for you. The people sitting at the table are the ones shaping the outcome, controlling the rules and deciding who wins and who loses. If you're not there, you have no voice and no influence. So you risk becoming the one being sacrificed for someone else's benefit. Okay. So in simple terms, in life, business or politics, you either help make the decisions or you live with the consequences of decisions others make for you. All right. So think for yourself, right? Don't be afraid to pave your own lane. And follow and do what you want to do, right? And don't be afraid of the judgment of others and what they might think of what you're doing, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're all going to die, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you, how much you love your life. But and that's the beautiful thing about life, is that we are all going to die. So 50 years, 100 years from now, you may not even be remembered, after you die, right? So tell me how many of you guys know your great grandparents, right? Or even know their names, right? A lot of you don't. So that's why it's important to do what you want in this life with the time that you're allotted, right? Because you're only allotted so much. You're here today and gone tomorrow. All right. And what you do in between the time that you're born and the time that you die, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right? It's really just a blink of time. So do what you want. All right. So in simple terms, in life, business, or politics, you either help make the decisions or you live with the consequences of decisions others make for you. The first quote explains that leaders often redirect people's anger outward, starting conflicts or creating enemies so their own people stop questioning them. The second quote explains that the people who aren't involved in making those decisions are the ones who get affected by them the most. Put together, the message is simple. Power belongs to the people making the decisions. Those at the table can start wars, shape narratives, and move the crowd. Everyone else, those without influence, awareness, or a voice, are the ones who end up paying the price. Right? In simple terms, when you're not part of the decision making, you become the one decisions are made for, and sometimes sacrificed for. So make your own decisions, right? Don't let others make decisions for you. Don't be a sheep. Create your own path. That being said, I love you so much. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.